myself again. But it's the only way you're ever gonna learn. You look back and it's all in the past. I'm dwelling on the thoughts I cannot say to you. If I don't say the words, then maybe it's not true.
Good evening, welcome to NUFC Matters. I am back after sabbatical, pretending to be somebody else, and instead of getting beaten other people up in films for a change. So yes, watch out for it. The working title was Requiem. I think it'll change over the course of the next few months, but it is released on Boxing Day, and my biggest role to date. So keep an eye out for it. I think I need therapy after playing a person like that, but never mind. I am back to the madness of Newcastle United and YouTube, and did manage to catch Holly and Pete last night. Thank you to them for starting the week off with a fans forum and everybody who took part. And welcome to Steve Hasty, Steve Wilkinson, George, Alwaleed, Stu, and Mitch for the Geordies here. Geordies there, which is on a Tuesday. Now, Liam is having a little bit of time off. I haven't quite managed to catch up with him because I've been away. So there is going to be a little rejigging of programs over the course of the next few weeks. Not massive changes, but you will have noticed we've got new credits, and there will be just a slight movement of a few things around. So watch this space. It's always good to have a shake up. Liam is fine, as I say, but will be otherwise unavailable for the next few weeks. So we will wait and see how things develop with him. But on to tonight. Thanks to Steve Wilkinson for going above and beyond. He's on a night out and he's in his car.
Outside broadcast.
Outside broadcast. I am going to move George, and please forgive us because it's a week since I've done all of this. Don't forget, you can ask George, and there's already people now, without us even saying it, are putting questions in for George in the chat, which I'm sure you can all see. So they will be there. So I've got to be honest, George. Let's start with you. I've only seen the match of the day highlights. Of course, I wasn't at the Spurs game. Had to sell me ticket to Davy Heslop from the Toon, who I don't think will be thanking us for that particular ticket. But 3 away games, which we knew would be tough. We were all hoping for something out of one or maybe even 2 of those games. We've come back with absolutely nothing. And the final game saw us get, a good old-fashioned thrashing.
Certainly did. I mean, realistically, I think many fans, after all the good vibes that were coming out of Dubai and how the training camp was going and all the good things people were saying about them being together and all the rest of it, the least I hoped for was a solid performance, a real good effort. And you could say it was up to a point to nearly half time. But then we're committed to cardinal sins. If you're in London football, there's 2 things you shouldn't do. 1, give away a goal just before half time, and 2, give away a goal just after half time. And lo and behold, we did them both. And then after that, it was just a nightmare. And people regress to being as bad as they were, if not worse, than when Bruce was around. I don't think Eddie Howe will have seen players play as bad as that since he come to Newcastle. And even the new guys disappeared into something which we've never seen before. I mean, even the left back, the lad that we bought it from left back from Villa, Target, he's been great. Saturday, I wouldn't get tuppence for him, never mind 15 million. And Byrne, well, that must be his worst game for a long, long time. It was like he was back in the non-league. He'd been talking about the non-league. Well, he looked like he was still playing in the non-league. And Joe Linton, well, Joel Ellington or whatever we're calling him now, he regressed to being a 40 pence player, not 40 million player. Really, really poor. And the other sad thing for me was that we went in at half time with a chance of staying in the game. And I imagined that Eddie Howe would get them together. He'd do some reorganising, maybe some substitutions to freshen things up and come out and give Spurs a real game. What really happened for me was that the Tottenham manager, who's an old stager, went in and changed his team around to have a go at us where our weaknesses were. And he won. The tactical battle was all his. We were absolutely taken to the cleaners and all that sort of thing. So it was really hurt. It really bad. And as I say, I was hoping, fingers crossed, we may get something out of the match. But what I really wanted to see was the togetherness of Dubai coming out on the pitch, and we're looking like we're going to give Spurs a game. And that never really happened, especially when their second goal went in just after half time. Heads dropped, we lost everything, and I don't think the front players, Chris Wood in particular, hardly must have had a ball to play with, during the game. And it was so many of them went back to where they were. Now, there's a blessing in disguise in that. And I noted Howe's comments about it might not be a bad thing. It's a bloody awful thing. But on the other hand, it might not be a bad thing because he's now seen, and the owners have now seen, some of the players who for the last 2 or 3 weeks have been performing like they deserve new contracts, that they were better than this and better than that. Well, in the raw, they're not. So, there'll be, if they were thinking about giving people new contracts of what basis of what went on the last 4 or 5 weeks, then they've now got a chance to rethink that and take it all in and think about what they're really saying. And as I say, with the big disappointment was seeing the new lads just disappeared. Like all the others did, something that was worth than when Bruce was running with. However, there is. I'm happy to tell, if you haven't seen it today, lads, I'm happy to tell you there is some good news. Howe has just had a big message from Sam Allardyce today. I hope you realise. I mean, none other than the big Sam has said that his cure for Sunday would be that Eddie Howe should give the players the biggest telling off they've ever had, and that'll put things right for the next match. Oh dear me! If we're not in trouble, if we follow what Sam has to say, we will be in trouble. But the reality is, it is a reality check. We're still in bother. We've still got to get points, and good luck to them, and looking forward to some response by Friday, I hope. But it was dismal watching that second half, and it must have been one of the worst 45 minutes I've watched for a long time.
Steve Wilkinson, Ian Hutchinson said, "What was the half-time team talk?" And I was with Alan Shearer today, getting ready for the big event on Thursday night, and he said exactly the same. He says, "I just don't know what was said at half-time." And he said, "I watched Tottenham and Man City play," and he says Man City tried the same thing at Spurs and came a cropper as well. He says, "So he put it down, I think, really to." Like I haven't, like it sounds most people have, just a bit of naivety on Eddie Howe's behalf. He thought he could attack Spurs in the second half, and they came a cropper. Spurs are really good at counter-attack, and Harry Kane stood out really in a rather surprising role.
Yeah, the disappointing thing for me was the discipline change between the two halves. I thought in the first half we were quite well disciplined. The first few minutes, 10 minutes or so, Tottenham were putting the pressure on, as you'd expect them to do, but we withstood that. We're heading 0-0 for half time before we got the free kick, but we seemed well organised. We're 2 banks of 4, and Spurs were finding trouble getting through us, which was great. If they did knock the ball to the edge of the penalty area, they were getting closed down and balls were getting cleared. So, we got to half time. As George said, disappointing time to let one in. To go in at 1-0 half time would have been fantastic. But I wonder what the impact of that skirmish that went on at just before half time with the push on ASM and then Joe Linton getting involved, and we ended up coming out of that with 2 bookings to their 1, and the guy who did the most pushing didn't get booked at all. I think it was it Royal? I think he pushed somebody and he didn't get a booking. And then there was a skirmish as everybody left the field, and I wonder whether tempers were a bit frayed in that team talk, and we didn't get down to having the proper get organised and go out, and as you saw right from the off, the discipline was gone, and it just carried on, and we just didn't trying to get the organisation that we had in the first half, and it was just goal after goal going in. And I think that probably comes down to why he probably brought Lascelles on. There's a lot of, the comment on the bottom at the moment is why did you not bring Dwight Gill on? As George said, there was no service going to Chris Wood anyway, so there wasn't going to be any service going to Dwight Gill. So I think Howe sort of thought, well, damage limitation, if goal difference comes into it, let's settle it 4-1 and not get turned over, which is what might have happened the way it was going. And, so he probably bought it at that time, too late really at that point to try and get them organised at the back. But it didn't quite work. But I think it was just a one we've got to put behind us, and as Howe said, is it's learn from it and get back to basics with starting on Friday. And we're still, I think we're 2 or 3 points is enough, I think, to get us up, and with 8 games left, that shouldn't be beyond us easily. So I think lessons learned, and just draw a line under that one, and don't get paranoid, as many people have been on social media. I did like you did, Stephen, and kept off commenting on social media after the match, because it was just ridiculous, some of the comments that were coming on. The worst game ever and all this sort of usual nonsense. You've just got to put it down to a one-off. We've had one-offs in the past, quite a few one-offs, but let's just regroup. We've got 3 home games now, and if we can get 3 or 4 points out of them, that's all we need.
Yeah, Tom asking what the thoughts are of the panel, Steve Hasty, on taking Chris Wood off and bringing on a defender. It is something I've saw dominated social media, and fans again on Twitter going into a meltdown. I mean, I see my policy of completely avoiding Twitter after a game is still wisely followed by many on this show, but it just seems to be a storm, Steve, doesn't it? And there's so many experts.
Yeah, and I was guilty of it myself, because I put a couple of comments up as well. Well, I put what I thought were the markings that were deserved by some of the players without actually giving them numbers, just comment on each one. But I mean, yeah, you look back and you think, right, well, he took Manquillo off and he went 3. He then takes a midfielder off and he shuffles things around. And it was by then, I don't think it was even damage limitation. I think it was just all very, very strange. I mean, you look at the half time, and you mentioned there, Alan. You've been with Alan Shearer, and Alan said, he wonders what the half-time team talk. And you begin to think, was there a half-time team talk? But just as importantly, when you're in a situation like you were at a club like Tottenham, playing a team like Tottenham, quality team, they knew that, with a couple of goals advantage, they would have gone 4th. And I think what I would be expecting from some of my coaching staff was not to necessarily look at what we were doing, but what they had been doing and what they've done in previous games and how they've adjusted at half time. And we didn't take that lesson on. We didn't take on those facts. And I think that, what we had, or what we witnessed, was Antonio Conte, who we all know as an absolute top-class manager, who was ready and willing to make the changes based on what he'd seen us do, but we didn't make our changes based on what we'd seen them perform, and more importantly, what we expected them to do to counteract it. It's all a game of chess when it gets to this high level, especially when you're playing a guy like a team that's been set up by a guy like Conte. And I thought that the way that he just got Harry Kane to drop, he knew that would draw out Burn. He knew that the fullbacks weren't tucking in because we'd gone 3 at the back. He knew that we could exploit the runners. He knew that we weren't getting the mobility in our midfield to counteract theirs. And he had his 2 wing backs that were, they played almost as second strikers and third strikers. And Son, well, we know Son can run forever, and he can exploit space. So all in all, it was disappointing. But I think if I'm going to say anything, what Eddie Howe's done over the last sort of 10 or 12 weeks is he set a high bar. And when you set a high bar and the disappointment comes, then naturally everybody falls off that step, don't they? And you don't just fall, but you come tumbling down the stairs, at 90 miles an hour. And I think that's what a lot of the supporters did. We expected more, and we hoped for more. We thought we're going to get more. And I think when it was 4-1, I believe that the vast majority of Newcastle fans were in the concourse. So, you know, that tells you an awful lot about, and I know that it was mentioned on the show last night with Holly and Dave, that, you know, that a lot of fans said, you know, let's stuff it. We've got to get the 7 o'clock train. We'll make as well head off now. And, you know, and that's disappointing that's the way that they felt, and vacated. I can't comment to say that I wouldn't have done it because I wasn't there. I probably would have done exactly the same. But it's just one of those things. And as Steve said, we've got to lift ourselves up, dust ourselves down. We've got a big game on Friday night.
Yeah, we've got a huge game. I did mention Alan Shearer. We've got 15 tickets left for the prize draw. This is your very last chance to enter a raffle, by the way, for the Shearer event. So if you want a ticket, they're a £5. There was only 99. There is 84 sold. Get yourself to nufcmatters.com. This is to win 2 VIP tickets for the event on Thursday night. So get yourself onto the website, order your tickets now. I'm going to draw that at 7:25. Al Walid, we've had a few highs in the last few weeks with, 9 games unbeaten, getting ourselves out of a dangerous position. But now, 3 defeats away from home. We now have 3 home games. And what's your views been on the performances over the last few weeks? Has it disappointed you, or do you think it just shows that, we've probably been, these players have been outperforming, they've been overperforming?
First of all, it was away games. And Chelsea, I believe it was stolen. I'm sure it was stolen from us. So I feel that we won that game. For Everton, we lost in last second. Was last minute. It was dramatic. They got red card. We want to take advantage of that. I think we are overexcited sometimes. So that was different circumstances. And the last game, it's also considered 2 games. First game, I think Eddie Howe win the first half. But in the second half, it was totally different game. Conte, I think he read the match, read the first half very well. Focus on the sides, on the right and left back of Newcastle, which is it was very poor performance. And Eddie Howe plan helped Conte plan in the second half, which was I think the players become more excited to score a second goal. They are a little bit more in hurry. Dan Burn, he's an amazing defender, but I think he's stressed himself, leave his position a lot. I don't know why this is instruction or not, but it's feel there is no much. There is no someone. I think this is the most game we really miss Trippier. He's the one who can really make the team solid in the field, because we saw everybody was lost, excited, and they leave a lot of spaces behind, which has helped Conte plan B. So this is what happened, and I believe also Eddie Howe try. I'm not. Of course, there is good aspect of the game. Even we lost, there is. Eddie Howe tries. He want to improve the team. He didn't just want to win with the same performance. He tried to develop the team, and that's what happened. But sometimes, this is not get you some buoyance. And this is explained when he said, "I will go to basic." I believe he say something at the press conference. So that means that he will try to, and also this will help us in summer transfer, because I love all the players of Newcastle, but to be honest, there is some players, they are not matching the next level, and this is a game proof that, and that's what I thought.
Stu, a lot of people pointing out in the chat, I think, agreeing, I guess, what Steve Wilkinson was saying, just about the altercation and the Joe Linton push and, all the argy-bargy just before half time. It was possibly did disrail Newcastle a little bit, that.
Yeah, and I'll have to agree with everything Steve Wilkinson says, because from that angle, he looks like a Geordie Lenny McLean. So you're gonna get no argument from me. I was happy with. I mean, I know George implied earlier that Joe Linton morphed back into Joe Linton, but I was happy when he did the push. I know he could have got sent off, but it shows that there's a unity in the togetherness. And if you want to go on like Geordie, Raj and everything else, he didn't back down. He stood his ground. And it was a shame that ASM got booked because he was the victim of the foul in the first place. I think the referee just tried to level it out and say, right, I'll book him, so I'll have to book him. You know, there was 2 or 3 more culpable for, or what should have been booked more than them 2 were. But we had an off day. I mean, you mentioned yourself, Steve, that there's been a knee-jerk reaction on social media and stuff like that. But that's what it was. It was an off day. Well, hopefully it's an off day. But I believe over the last few months since the turn of this year, the manager, his team, and the players should have enough credit in the bank, you know, to be allowed a day like this. You know, bear in mind, Tottenham have beat the Man City as well. So, as Steve Hasey said, the guy's a master tactician, and he looked at our weaknesses, and it was a game of chess. We lost a game of chess, and they're taking players off to save them for Friday, which now has grew in importance, not just because I'll be there and it's my birthday and we're going to win 3-1, but, you know, it's grew in importance just to make sure that, you know, we come from going 9 games unbeaten to 4 games losing in a row. That can change people's attitudes. It can create a bit of panic when there really doesn't need to be. So me personally, and I'm sure many others would agree, I'd take exactly where we are right now to where we were on Christmas Day. And sometimes we do have short memories. And the first half, people say we played well the first half. I didn't. I thought we were lackluster all game. We stifled them and we stopped them, or we limited their shots or their chances that they were creating, but we didn't create much ourselves. And I don't want to single any player out because there was too many that weren't at the races on Sunday. There was too many. You know, there was a couple of midfielders. I won't mention one because he's Scottish and he plays on the right wing. I didn't even realise he was playing until after about 20 minutes. And that's very unlike him, you know, because he's normally very, very busy and getting stuck in. So collectively, it was an off day. Collectively, we got beat, and hopefully collectively they gathered themselves together. And in front of a full house on a Friday night, under the lights at St. James's, you know, go and give it to them. And the Ginola thing, I just managed to get to watch it because I had the beIN Sports on, but I watched the Ginola rant, as they called it, afterwards. And I thought he was bob on with what he was saying, and it showed that he cared. And I really loved the fact he was saying we. Bear in mind, he played for Tottenham just as long as he played for Newcastle. And he kept saying we, and the death. He
is French, Stu.
Yeah. Quite right there. Should have thought that myself. Yes, but no, he was referring to Newcastle as his team, and you could see the passion in it, how he cared for it, and he talked about the Keegan era, and he says, "No, this is your strength. Go and do it." And now maybe he was alluding to ASM there, who we've talked about several times in the past. But if anything, and I'll say in Alan St-Maximin's defence, I think he overcompensated on Sunday. He was too cautious, you know, and he was chasing back, but because he's not a defender, he doesn't know how to defend. But he was getting in the positions to do this, and it nullified his attacking ability. And you could see as soon as he got the ball, he felt, I need to pass this, and he was passing to people who weren't in the right positions or even expecting the pass off him. And it's a tricky one, you know, but we got beat. It's going to happen, you know. Sometimes we have to accept it, you know. Even the top teams in the league, the top teams in every league, they get beat. And from being second bottom Christmas Day to being comfortable at the moment, I think every single one of us would have accepted that. So we need a bit of a reality check. And like I say, we've got 3 home games coming up. And even if we get 3 points from those home games, I think we'll be home and dry. for the season, and then we can start plotting for the fun times that are ahead.
Yeah, it was good to see Ginola get together with Amanda and Mirdad. Future role for him, Mitch. I mean, is that something that, you know, is something that you look at and you think that's just a social get together before the match because it's Newcastle Spurs, or is there something more we could read into that? Do you think, Mitch?
Difficult to read. Personally, I would doubt it. Like we've said many times, the club should be reaching out to more and more former players of all statures to have an ambassadorial role, no matter whether you played one game or 6 games. You have a potential role and potential future at supporting Newcastle United, because how many of them who've played for us, even when they're commentating on a game when we're playing another team they've played for, they talk about Newcastle United as we, and there's so many of them do. That's the effect the club has on former players, and we should be utilising them more. I think that's very clear. With regard to the games, I mean, there's a lot of sense being talked here tonight and a lot of calmness, which I'm glad to see. You know, I think if you take the 3 games in a row, really, we've lost in the last minute to Chelsea after giving them a damn good game. We fell for a sucker punch at Everton on a bizarre night with a protester. And really, the only thing we can be unhappy about is probably 47 minutes of the Tottenham game. Yeah. And apart from that, we've done reasonably well. There's things you can take away from that. Will look to me very much like a team, though, who's desperate for a home game. Playing away from home for a month, effectively, is not a great way for the fixtures to fall. And I think, why not? Let's use this as a wake-up call. I'm sure it's been a wake-up call to Eddie Howe, because I think it's quite clear, second half, he got done by a superior tactician. And he can go away from it and learn a little bit. Bearing in mind, I felt before the game, it depended which Tottenham turned up. And sadly, we got the one that humped Man City. We didn't get the one that lost to Burnley. You know, and I think that set a bit of a tone as well. I think we did get distracted by the pushing and shoving before half time. I think too many people were interested in getting involved, even though the main instigator was the one who got away with scot-free. So I think there's things we can take away from this that you can turn into positives out of all of it, because it's been a hell of a run and then a hell of a 3 games beaten, but really we didn't deserve 3 defeats out of those 3 performances at all. And I think that's what we need to hang on to here, is that I think we've now discovered just how far away from the top clubs we are. And it's further than perhaps it felt during my unbeaten run, but also how much further away from where we were under Bruce we are. And we're probably realising what our happy medium is at the minute, and we've still got a lot to do going forward. And that's no bad thing for all of us, I think, to realise and take that away. And so I think home game on Friday night under the lights, quite a few people having a day off work and getting a few down their necks, and I think we'll have a really good atmosphere on Friday night, and that's the kind of atmosphere I think the lads will, really thrive on returning to St James's Park after so long.
Yeah, I think so. No one's going to mention the gold shorts. He says bad omen, just like the White Sox, says Blue Rhythm Boy. Yeah, we've often had those kind of feelings about strips, etc., and the gold shorts seem to be added to that list. Okay, halfway through the show, which means time to give the ads a bit of a shout out, and we have a new one from our long-term sponsor, Spider VPN, are now Spider Miner, worldwide coverage. They are the only cryptocurrency miner that can mine 5 different cryptocurrencies at the same time, whilst using virtually no energy, and it's VPN protected. Buy yours now at www.miner.spidervpn.org. I've stuck that link in the chat for anybody who's interested in that. Thanks for keeping on board, lads. Also, thanks to skipsandbins.com, telephone 0800 25 45 25 3, email inquiries at skipsandbins.com, website www.skipsandbins.com, easy, contract free and pay as you go waste collection. Thanks to L&G Family Funeral Directors, 01913897245, and a Garden of Healing Dispensary, CBD, hemp and cannabinoid specialists, www.thegohd.com. Thanks to Arcot Interiors, who are based at the bottom of Heaton Road. You can also find them by searching them on Google for all your kitchen necessities. contact Arcot Interiors. And qtechshop.co.uk, the makers of pool tables and snooker tables in Wallsend, Newcastle, and the guys who run our website, nufcmatters.com. Thanks also to Cleekai. Meet the new game over screen. Drop into a Clearun device near you. You can get that on Apple Store, Google Play, and clearun.game. Jab Signature, well, you can find them at jabsignature.co.uk. Big thanks to Media Arts for sorting out our video content. And if you want to subscribe to the channel, then go to the Newcastle Legends logo in the bottom right-hand corner and you can subscribe for free. Still 7 shows a week and a little bit extra besides. Hit the thumb up to like the video, click share to share to your social media, and drop into the comments box to speak to like-minded Newcastle fans or to pose a question. We're also available as a podcast. You can find us on iTunes, Spotify, and all good podcast providers. And if you do subscribe to the channel, don't forget to go to nufcmatters.com to claim your free window sticker. And you can help us promote the show on the back of your car. You can also become a member by simply going to the website, and you get a cup, a pen, a scarf, and a membership card and entry into the monthly draw. Alternatively, you can put your camera on your smartphone over the QR code and it will take you straight there. Don't forget, Friday night I will be with Supermac at the Dog and Parrot pre-match, and we will be starting that around about 6 o'clock. So pop in if you want to meet Malcolm. It is free. Kids are welcome, and there is food and drink and a good pool table in there as well. The food bank still needs your support as well, so please pop on to NUFC fans, foodbank.co.uk if you want to make a donation into the matchday bucket. And you've got about 22 minutes left if you want to enter the raffle. I know there was only about 15 tickets left when we started at 6:30. nufcmatters.com. A fiver to try and win 2 tickets worth just over 500 quid for the event on Thursday night for a place on the NUFC Matters table. Simply make your bid. And if you want to come to that event, there are a few tickets remaining. Get yourself to www.the260dinner.co.uk. And just to give you a bit of a heads up as to what we've got for the rest of the week, tomorrow I will be on with Malcolm, so join me and Supermac. Tomorrow we will be on at the usual time of 6 o'clock, looking back at the last 7 days at Newcastle United. And on Thursday I'll be joined by Holly, and on Sunday Gibbo will be with us this week. Mick Lowes will be doing his usual slot on Saturday, just having to do a little bit of a rejig this week, what with the Shearer event. And of course, we also have the event with Holly, Supermac and Gibbo at the Marlborough Social on Saturday at 12 noon. I do believe the ticket link for that wasn't working when I was away. So I have a few emails where people said they were trying to buy tickets and couldn't. If you go there now, the problem has been fixed on the website. So get yourself onto there, www.newcastlelegends.com, and you can buy your tickets for a tenner. Of course, if you are a member, you get a pair of tickets for free. But do remember to get in touch with John at nufcmatters.com to obtain your tickets. So look forward to seeing some of you on Thursday and the rest of you on Saturday. Just get yourself along. Should be 2 really good nights. Okay, as everybody knows, we do have this special section. These questions fly in, George. I'm probably gonna go with a couple of them because a couple of them will probably just be, a couple of word answers, I would imagine. Tom, we'll give you this one. He goes, can you ask George what is Newcastle's biggest win that he has been to?
Well, in recent times, the 7 goals against Leicester, but even a little bit further back, one of the big wins that was the most enjoyable game was 7-3 win against West Brom. Was absolutely fantastic football match to be at, and as I say, there was lots of goals, but it was a great game. 2 teams, every time they went forward, you thought they were going to score a goal, and we had our big names on, Milburn, Mitchell, etc. But West Brom had Ronnie Allen, Derek Kevin, a young blonde kid who was to become a big England forward. Barlow in midfield. I mean, it was a great game and a good win. But after that, you got to go to the big 7-goal win against Leicester when we were pushing for promotion. That was probably one of the biggest ones.
Okay, I'm not sure what this one means from Roger. He goes, can you ask George, were you ever involved with Irving Nattrass in Newcastle?
Well, as it happens, yes. I mean, Irving Nattrass was a little bit younger than I was, but because as I was going out, he was coming in. And in later on, when they were still trying to sort my knee out, unfortunately, Irving got his knee knackered, and we spent a couple of sessions in the treatment room with Alec Much and one or two of the physio guys. I have to say, I think the lads here have heard me say before is that around that period, I'm certain that Newcastle were too keen to get hold of the insurance money instead of getting these put right, because Tony Green and Irving Nattrass, George Dalton, I can run them off behind, people whose careers were shattered with knee injuries. Irving Nattrass was one of them, but big thing about Irving Nattrass was what a nice lad he was. He was, from top to bottom, from coming in and playing with the kids, with the juniors. Ted Hughes used to say what a nice lad he was, and the older coaching staff were the same. He was, he certainly had a good following amongst the staff at St James's Park. So it was no surprise to me when he got a contract.
Okay, last one for you, George. We'll go with this one because it's a little bit different. He said, what's the best and worst rule change that you've seen in football, George? And that's from Raymondo.
My goodness, where to begin? You don't want another hour and a half on throw-ins there. I think we've gone over the top with protecting goalkeepers. Okay. I think I've mentioned on here before, some time ago, I worked out last year that our goalkeeper at the time, who was our second goalkeeper, Darlow, he wasted more time than any other goalkeeper in the Premier League per game, and his average was nearly 18 minutes a match. Can you imagine 18 minutes in the hands of a goalkeeper instead of being played out in the field? And what I mean about overprotection, goalkeepers used to have a specific amount of time they could keep the ball in their hands. Yes, they needed protection from not the people like the old-fashioned Loftus shoulder charge, which one or two other people got involved in. Keeble for us as well. Yes, that had to go. That was a nonsense. The goalkeeper just dropping on his feet and then getting pushed in the back of the net. So all of that protection was fine. But now it's ridiculous. I think they get far too much time to kill the game and play the game. I think they need to look at that again and think about ways in which they restrict the time the goalkeeper can faff about with the ball and waste time with the ball. And I think that's one of the things I do. Incidentally, talking about goalkeepers, I was spitting blood on at the weekend with the Aston Villa game. Their centre forward, Ollie Watkins, got a penalty. Shouldn't have been a penalty. It should have been a free kick with the goalkeeper, because he went in with his studs up, got the ball with his studs, not with his foot, with his studs. And then because of his the speed he was travelling, he clattered into the goalkeeper and nearly knocked the goalkeper senseless. And the referee gave him a penalty. VAR gave him a penalty. He should have been booked for the foul on the goalkeeper, in my opinion. So there's swings and rounds about. But I'd be, as rule changes, I'd be looking at goalkeepers.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, no, listen, that's great. And that's thanks to everybody who partook in Ask George. And we'll have another bout of that next week. And it makes for a little bit of variety, George. I think people do enjoy it. So that's great. All right. Lots of questions coming in. Lots of people happy to see us back live as well. Alan Little saying, thank God for a live show. Welcome back, Stephen Cole. It's better than not having shows at all, though, when we pre-record them. And there was a bit of variety last week. I know I had some nice comments about, certainly about Mick Lowe's dream team. People seem to really enjoy that, and they loved Liam Kennedy's Shearer show as well. So something a little bit different last week. It's better than having no shows at all, though. So I hope you did enjoy. But I know what you mean. The live show is great to have. Yeah, Alan, I do. I think you've listened to the panel. I think it's a learning curve at the minute for everybody. We've got to remember the club was only taken over in October, and Eddie Howe hasn't been here 5 minutes really. And some people on social media crying for him to be sacked. It's ludicrous. It really is. Steve Wilkinson, on to you again, and obviously we've got 3 home games coming up in a row, so it's not easy. You get into a winning run in the Premier League, things look great, but you can easily get back into a losing run again. So how does Eddie Howe change things on Friday to pick things back up?
Well, I think he's got to go back and remind them of the games that were played in the runs and what was good and not a lot was bad in those games. You go back to the Brighton game, we're winning 2-0 up there next to no time, and then we controlled the game after that. The effort at Southampton having gone a goal behind, you got to bring back those games and remember how the players felt and how they managed to battle, and we had the 1-0s. We scraped a 1-0 against Villa, where we defended pretty well you've got to go back to those games and get back to basics. I think his difficult job on Friday is picking the team, because I think to me we've got to get Bruno in there somehow to start, and with the other 3 of the midfielders fit. It's a question for me of who do you play, and I think Joe Linton I think was pretty poor on Sunday, but is he the wrong one to drop? I don't know, and it'd be interesting to see what everybody else thinks. But other than that, I'm still not 100% sure that he's got ASM the way he wants ASM to be. It was mentioned earlier on about him maybe trying too hard to cover back, and that's not his natural game. And I would like to go back and for these 3 home games at least, put ASM as a sub and an impact sub, and go back to having Fraser on the left, because I think as was said earlier on, he was lost on the I think Stu said he was just totally lost on the right side, and his best performances have been playing on the left, and get Murphy in on the right, and go back to that team. And but again, the middle 3, I don't know. You put the names in the hat, I think, and draw them out. But I would like to see Bruno in, and I think you draw the other 3 out the hat. I think that each of them have got a quality that will complement Bruno in the middle. And but I wouldn't know which ones I would pick. But I think that's how it's got to go. And then obviously the crowd will be behind us and on Friday, and I'd like to see them get a good start. I think Wolves is going to be a tricky team. I think of the teams we've got left, they're the highest positioned. I think are they about 8th at the moment. Although the others aren't far behind. Palace had a fantastic win last night, and they're going to be a difficult one as well. But I think as I said earlier on, I think if we can get 3 points out of these, which is either a win or even get 3 draws, objective achieved is the only thing for this season is to get survival. And I'm pretty confident that by I think I was watching Ben Jacobs with you last night from last week, and as he said, I think by the time we've played Norwich, I think we'll be safe. And we're starting with these 3 home games where I would like to see at least 1 win and draw the other 2. I don't want to see a home defeat again.
Yeah, we've seen enough of them under Steve Bruce. Yeah. Steve Hasty, I mean, it's, Bruno is something Steve Wilkinson wants to see more of. Is it time to be a little bit more, I don't know, from Eddie Howe's position, make some of those hard decisions? Because there's a few hard decisions to make, isn't there? And during that period of 9 games, he was fair. But is it time to be a bit more ruthless? I guess that's the word I was looking for, with a few of these players and start leaving players out.
Yeah, I think it is. I think it's time that it's time for a change. I think we saw that there was right across the team there was a lethargy in amongst them, and I think that the players that came on, especially Bruno, he looked as though he wanted to take the game to the opposition, but it was just the people around him who perhaps just weren't at the races for him. So I do think, yes, you're right. There's time for Eddie to really sort of clamp down, let him know. We talked about ASM there. What I found interesting, ASM was kind of caught between a rock and a hard place, wasn't he? Wasn't taking players on, was looking for the pass, because that's what people have been saying, you've got to give the ball, but it was given, to overlapping fullbacks and things like that didn't quite have the pace. The ball was running short. There was so much went wrong, and it was so difficult for to really pin anyone down, quite frankly, in terms of who you could really point the finger at and say you would blame. And I think that's been emphasised right across the panel tonight. But yeah, it's time to freshen up. It's time that Howe looked at Bruno and said, right, this is what I want from him. But this, more important, is this is how I want you to work around him. I want him to be my playmaker. That's the type of what we've seen. That's the type of man who can do that. He can put his foot on the ball. He can play those little 10, 12-yard dinky passes. He can keep the momentum going. It's that transition that you get from defence to midfield and then midfield into attack that's just as important sometimes. And sometimes when you play the long pass, the transition goes because the gap then opens up and it's too big. Or the passes that are played short are played in the wrong way, or playing behind someone or someone with his back to goal, but then you're not getting the movement around that player who's feeding the ball. So there's lots for them to work on in training, and I'm sure Eddie Howe spotted the way that he wants it, and he'll have read the riot act. There's no question of that. He'll have let them know in no uncertain terms that what he witnessed was unacceptable. But he'll take an awful lot of the blame on himself as well, and that's the way that he reacts is what we're going to see on Friday. Hopefully, we'll see a reaction from the players. We'll see a reaction in who he brings in, who he leaves out, and what style of ball he wants to play. Whether he goes for a 3 at the back, whether he goes for a 5 midfield and 1 up front or whether he goes 4-4-2 or 4-3-3. All of those type of things. They are the responses that will identify Eddie Howe as a coach and will really set the scene for the last 8 games of the season.
Yeah, good to see you on the chat, Rachel. I know you haven't been feeling too well. I've seen your post on social media, so get well soon, Rachel.
Yeah.
Hope you're feeling a bit better. Al-Walid, Dan Byrne. I saw that in the chat earlier. I can't remember who put it now, but just saying, do you think that he's suffering a little bit of confidence failure after the the goals at Chelsea? Obviously, he took the blame on himself for that goal, and then obviously a last-minute defeat really at Everton as well. So did that all culminate in the collapse that we saw at Spurs? Do you think he put too much pressure on himself?
Exactly. This is what I look at. He's trying so hard, and when he left his position and he didn't get the ball, we become in trouble. Maybe, and it's not his fault. Maybe also, actually, we didn't have defense midfielder. This is one position. I really hope it's covered in the summer. A real defense midfielder we didn't have. Shelby, he's not defense midfielder. First place. For Saint Maximin, as Steve Hesty says, this is Premier League, not Sunday League. You can't change someone to play for 3 years in a way, and you want him to change to be a different player and pass the ball. I noticed he tried when he passed the balls. Even the players didn't know how to handle or play with Saint Maximin. Everyone have a different move on the game. If I can speak to Eddie Howe, what I'm gonna just share with him, we need to put every player back to his actual position. Chris Wood, he have to be a striker. If you remember the long pass, I'm not really sure it was from home, but it was long pass. It was the same kind of balls he get in Burnley, and he almost scored a goal against Tottenham. That was only time I saw Chris Wood. Every player should play in his position, and I believe Saint Maximin, if you want to use Saint Maximin, let him be a striker. And this is just my thought.
No, it's interesting. All the tickets are sold for the draw, so I will announce it in 5 minutes who has won those final 2 tickets. We do have, as I said, a few tickets left, and we have got 2 tables of entry-only tickets up for sale now. If you want to buy individual tickets, you can. There's no food or drinks included with that one. They're £100 each. So if anybody would like a ticket, just to come along and watch the show and be part of a fantastic night, get yourself on NUFCmatters.com. And we do, as I say, we have tables. If you want to buy a table, £950 for a table of 10. So if you want to come along to the Shearer event, but you couldn't afford the £260 ticket, then there are 2 tables of 10 available. Get in quick. They are going to go quickly. So get yourself on NUFCmatters.com tonight and maybe get in touch with your mates, see if they want to come and sit on the table with you. Okay, Stu, the talk about Bruno being a captain has come up again in the chat as well. Is it too early to be suggesting that he becomes a captain? I think most of us had all felt that Trippier had looked in a comfortable zone and that with a captain's armband around his arm. But Bruno's been suggested by Roger. Is that something that you would be up for?
No, I think Bruno can be pivotal for our future. And he doesn't need the burden of a captaincy. He needs to be able to express himself without having to worry about what other players are doing. And I just wanted to mention before that I think it was Ethan McKenna put on the chat there about the 2 watches for referees. Now, my dad's I got skilled for this comment actually, but he's a qualified referee in Scotland for the SFA, and when I was younger, he was actually regaling these stories about how they wear 2 watches. So I asked me, why do they wear 2 watches? And he says, in case one breaks. So, as a quizzical young lad, I thought, well, how do you know which one's broke? How do you know which one's not working? So what? How do you know which one it is? So that I had 1 week's grounding to think about the answer to that question. But back to Bruno. No, he's a player that is quite clearly is part of our future. We need to build a team around him. We need, and I keep banging the Calvin Phillips drum, and someone like that can sit back and allow people like Bruno and Joelinton to express themselves. And we have a bright future. Yes, we've had a few things go against us in the last couple of games, but we had plenty of things go for us in the previous games. So maybe it's a level out. We just need to realise we are where we are. We didn't turn into superstars overnight, and I'm sure Eddie Howe read the players the right act. I'm sure we'll see a positive reaction come Friday, and I wouldn't be surprised if our actual captain is back in on Friday, Jamal Lascelles. Yeah. He seems to have been saying the right things. He seems to. I can't remember him having a bad game in his appearance he's had over the last few months. And he, even at Everton, when he got the own goal, Everton at home I'm talking about, he was straight back up and led by example with a powerful header, and they're all now wanting to play. And now, to me, this final stretch will be the survival of the fittest. And the ones who really, really want it, they'll get it. I don't think we'll go down. I don't think we'll have any need for early, well, not early panic, but for panic at all. And I will reiterate what I said earlier. I'm looking forward to us winning against a very good and improved Wolverhampton side, who I thought might have got relegated at the start of the season with them losing their manager pre-season. But the new guy's come in. He's done well. I watched them against Aston Villa at the weekend, and they deserve to win. So it's not going to be an easy. It's not going to be an easy game, but we can be the 12th man, and I'm sure we'll all be up for it on Friday. And yeah, Bruno won't be captain. We'll win 3-1 on Friday, and Newcastle will stay up, and happy times are ahead.
Good stuff. Mitch, what's your thoughts, going into this game on Friday night? It's, do you think Newcastle will, make a few changes? Do you think, he will look at that performance or in an isolation way, or will he start trying to separate the wheat from the chaff? Do you think, and looking ahead to next season almost? I know he still feels, as we all do, we're still in a relegation battle, but do you think he's going to start making some decisions now?
He's got an opportunity to say to some players, do you want to be part of this future going forward or not? It's entirely up to you. And your performances in these last few games, it's entirely up to you. Do you want to be part of a football revolution, or do you want to be shown the door? Show me what you've got. And I think it would be naive to not make changes on the basis of what we saw on Saturday, because that was in essence the teams that did reasonably well in the other two games away from home, and they've obviously run out of steam, so it needs freshened up for me. So let's put it to the players. Do you want to go forward as part of this club? Do you want to go forward as part of this football revolution? Or do you want to just see your contract out and say bye-bye at the end of the season? Ta-da. You show me. Show us what you've got. He's got a great opportunity to put that question to a number of players. It's quite clear where the direction is going. It's quite clear the level of player we're looking at bringing in, going down the line. When you look at particular Trippier and Bruno who've been brought in, and so there's my bar. Are you up to it, or are you not? Are you up for it? I tell you what, if you are a professional footballer and you can't get up for Friday night and under the lights at St James's Park with our lot baying for blood, then you might as well hang your boots up now. If that cannot inspire you, if that cannot drive you forward, then you've got no future at St James's Park.
Yeah, well said. Great to be back live tonight. Congratulations to K Carr. You are the winner of those 2 tickets. So you will be on that table on Thursday night. So please get in touch with John, or John will get in touch with you. I don't think it's Kevin Carr, our exclusive.
I thought that.
But you never know. Look, it's going to be a great night. So, thanks to everybody who has contributed to the raffles. And don't forget, if you want to get yourself along, just as an entry-only ticket, get yourself on NUFCmatters.com. There are some entry-only tickets available at the last minute. So they are £100 each, or you can get a table for £9.50. I am back tomorrow, 6 o'clock, tomorrow night, with Super Mac. So those of you who are expecting to see Malcolm on a Thursday, it's a slight rejig this week. We will be back with Malcolm on his own tomorrow night at 6 o'clock, taking your questions. Just time to squeeze this in, and it's a Geordies here, Geordies there. Photograph sent in by Ugly Camel, and he says this is John Wilson, match day from the Mont Blanc, which I think is fantastic. 2 lads standing there.
Yeah.
It's a great photograph. That thank you for bringing my attention to that and sending it to us. It was down as a tweet of the week, but I think that fits the Geordies here, Geordies there a lot better. And the 3 amigos, lots of people saying, "Are you going to be live this week because it's Friday and the match is on?" Well, the good news is we are. Steve Hasty and I will be live together in the office. And Mitch will be live at 2:30, I think we've agreed on, but potentially 2:45. Keep an eye on the channel. We're going to agree that ourselves, but it'll be around about that time, and we'll have an hour and a half together before the match. Probably aiming for between 2:30 and 3 o'clock, and it'll be finished around about 4:25. So definitely live, slightly longer than you have had in the last couple of weeks, but it will definitely be live. Me and the guys back together again. So look forward to joining you all then. But for now, it's thanks to George, Steve Wilkinson, Steve Hasty, Albalid, Stu, and Mitch, and most importantly, you guys for being in the chat. Thanks very much. Take care, lads.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.